Sounds like the biggest competitor is status quo. I've heard that before.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, the work still gets done, right, by somebody in the company. That's typically the thing when companies don't have RevOps, they still have somebody that does their systems. They still have somebody to run reports, to do the analytics, to help build the strategy. It's usually not the best person to do it because oftentimes what we see is that their CRO, their VP of sales, one of our most expensive resources gets pulled into doing these reporting and analytics, these executional tasks that RevOps typically does and does a lot better and a lot faster than they do. But it's just somebody needs to do it in the company, right? So until they make that decision that revenue operations needs to come in, they want to make that investment, somebody still does it. It's the way we typically find.
It is crazy to me how often operations and like analytics and building a solid foundation there is overlooked by companies. And just the cost and loss that you get from either people's time that could be really strategic, having to do kind of like lower level work and spend their time and energy on it, or just data being missed. And I think like getting that foundation right is so important. And as new technology is coming out, we talk to these tech vendors all the time that are bringing in new technology that can help you do stuff. It's like you need someone who's helping to think through how to implement those things. What's the best systems to set up? But it's very overlooked. Curious if that will evolve over the next few years with AI and whatnot. We shall see.
I want to hear what Paul really thinks about this, but I think the one of the major reasons why companies are not hiring RevOps or operations in general early enough is because they struggle with defining what's the value behind this. I think it's just somewhere in the mix of different roles that they need to bring initially. They think that everyone can do something extra. But when you throw more of the extra stuff on these people, there's a tipping point in the day-to-day work when they start realizing I can't do my primary job because I'm doing a lot of other stuff. And, some people recognize it early, some people just drag it to the moment when it's so painful that people start leaving, right?
Yep.
And I think that's one of the reasons, but I don't think it's the only reason. That's the moment when they start realizing, okay, we got to bring somebody in. We don't want to start with something that is heavy, so we're going to throw some system stuff on them, right? Or this unwanted abandoned child called sales compensation.
Hmm.
So these are the typical suspects that just start to accelerate in the conversation in this circumstance. But I think it doesn't have to be that way. If the companies are cognizant that this work eventually will prevail on, engineering side or marketing side, suddenly engineers doing comp, man, that's a wrong combination.
Hmm. Yep.
You don't want your engineer to do their comp. That's first of all, that's very expensive. Second is the guys coming or the gals coming to work every single day, and they just hate it. There's only few people I know, they love comp, and these are ops people.
Hmm.
So I can't even expect that engineer person will love it.
My least favorite time of the year is when we're redoing our comp plans, and I'm like, "Ugh."
There you go. I mean, there's nobody in the world that is just fully sane that says, "I love comp." If you say this, I mean, I'm already like, "Okay, I'm not sure I wanna have you in my phone book."
Hmm.
Alright? So, yeah, Paul, what is your take on this? How do you see this?
Yeah, absolutely. And just on comp specifically, that can also be, like you said, very expensive to have a person do that who shouldn't be doing that, number one. But then there's also a risk built in, right? If mistakes get made because people that shouldn't really be doing it do it, salespeople don't get paid out, but they should be paid out. If you have a very complex comp plan or maybe a very complex sales organization, then you might also risk litigation, right? And lawsuits and people leaving on bad terms. And it just leads to a whole set of problems that you don't want to have just on comp alone. But you brought up systems admin and infrastructure and all these different things that need to get done. If they get done kind of by different people in different places at different times, you end up with a lot of tech debt usually because you get different systems at different times that solve a certain problem that needs to be solved at that moment, which is great. Bringing on a tool is pretty easy these days, right? You go to a website, in some cases, literally swipe your credit card, you got a couple seats, you're up and going. Integration is pretty easy with a lot of systems and tools as well. But if you get a lot of these systems set up, they don't integrate well, they don't talk to each other. They don't operate on a structured layer of data that goes kind of across your entire revenue operations architecture and infrastructure. Then you're going to miss out on opportunities. You're going to miss out on visibility into your pipeline, into your conversion rates, into your attribution, all these things that you're just going to miss if you just don't have it organized from a centralized point, which typically revenue operations is that, right? Is that point in the middle that sits between marketing and sales, customer success, finance, product, and it kind of brings all of those teams together to operate on a centralized layer of data to make decisions on, to really get the company to a shared revenue target that everybody is then tasked with essentially to hit.